It is 9:30 on a Thursday night, and you are tuned in to Beltway Radio and Beyond, which can mean one and only thing.
Ding, 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 ding.
This is ChipChat. Welcome to ChipChat, everybody. I'm Chip. Who are you, Tez?
You just told him, buddy.
Hey, look, we're back to our roots, man. We're doing.
We're right back to this is how this all began.
Yeah, and it's how it's gonna go. Actually, I think we have maybe one more studio date. And that's it.
I'll let listeners into some of that time of doing it. I used to do it. I used to go to my office at the time, and I would go back to the office and record it out of the office because just where I was at, it was a very small space. There was really not a great place to do this. But I would, usually, and I always look like I was in that crazy interrogation room. If you ever look at those videos, like the room I'm in is, it looks very, you done fucked up, right?
You know what it reminded me of is when John Oliver was in the void and he was doing his show from the void. You were doing it from the void.
It was exactly from the void. That's exact way to put it.
So anyway, we're back. We're on the air. We are remote tonight. We have extenuating circumstances, so we're gonna do this. We're making sure our rigs work for the new year.
Yeah, this is good. This is good, prep. Prep show to see.
Got to practice and stuff. See if we can still do this.
Still do this remote. Brian's here, so we always know we're always
right. We got the white man with us. He's keeping an eye on everything from back in the studio. We do have a special guest this week.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, ADST is going to be with us. He's got new music out, and the album is amazing. Yeah, huge success. I can't recommend it enough. It's out. It's on Bandcamp. You can get it on Bandcamp. Wait till tomorrow.
Yeah, look at that. See, we even better on remote because look at the graphics, how they just smoothly. If you're not watching me from home, Brian,
just listening.
Smooth with if you're listening, and you're not watching on wherever you can catch us on BeltwayRadioandBeyond.com, correct? Is where we're at.
Oh yeah.
Brian just really smooth with throwing a really dope picture of ADST, just as we're talking about it. So again, everything will be fine. We'll do it remote. We get this done. You see, we still got the guests. You're still getting a guest on.
Probably get better guests.
Right. To be honest,
we our success with the guests has been heavily leveraged by the remote. Although I would say Ray Suarez would just come and hang out with us in the studio on a given day if he could.
That did happen.
It happens a lot now, actually. He just calls me up. He's like, hey, what do you think about this? I'm like, Ray, you're a real news guy. Shouldn't you? He's like, oh, just, Okay, so apart from me making the world a lot better, there's this guy who is dead, but the guy who shot him got caught. I'm not casting any judgment about that, but we are going to talk about that. Chris Ray is leaving his job at the FAB for obvious reasons. And I think that there's still a lot of people who don't really understand what that really means. So we're going to have to talk about that. Maybe we should have bought InfoWars. Apparently that
I know they're
better.
It would have been, a little more under the radar. They might think that what we're doing is we play him so they would be like, oh,
they would have been like, oh yeah, it's an acceptable bid. These guys are clearly fans.
It's a fan.
We might talking about sucking golf balls through garden hoses.
A crazy video. That video is so insane.
And turning frogs gay in Spanish. Super efficient. It's wild.
So really wild. It's really wild.
Speaking of wild, Syria is not a country anymore. So that's cool. We'll have to talk about that. We've been successfully avoiding talking about the war in the Middle East,
which is
for several weeks, and then it got so much more serious that we had to address it.
Yeah, because what was it? 10 days, rebels basically marched on to the road to Damascus.
That's right, exactly. They came down the road to Damascus. The M5, I believe, is his actual title. But they just
Assad had a road to Damascus moment, you know.
He did. He did.
Now he's in Moscow.
And now he's in Moscow.
It's kind of crazy.
And
that happened in less than 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It would almost be as if like what Prigozhin was trying to do, he marched on Moscow and like did that in like 10 days.
And like it
Russia's
worked.
and like it's like, oh, Russia's over with. It's this now. Like Syria that's been what are we going on? 15 years?
Since the uprising started in 2013, I believe. So
2013. Yeah. Oh, so a little under
11 years.
11 years.
About 11 years.
But I mean, that's
back when Twitter was causing revolutions.
Exactly.
Yeah. Trying to fight the good fight.
Got a lot of shoes.
Finally worked.
Got big shoes to fill, Blue Sky.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. I don't know if a lot of people on Blue Sky wear shoes. It might be kind of one of those
He's gonna bait you in with that one.
Yeah. They're like, no, we don't wear shoes. They have to be like free range, made of leather that the cow died accidentally.
Natural causes.
Yeah, and it just happened to fold itself into shoes. No people were involved in making them because it could be unjust labor. And somebody walked by, accidentally stepped in the puddle of leather, and it wrapped itself around their feet, and that's how they got the shoes.
Like how venom takes on, like
it takes the shape around their feet.
Insane.
What a week.
Okay. I mean, it has been a week, and again, we're all building up to January 20th.
Hooray!
Hooray! MLK.
I think we're just getting ready for that. I don't know. I don't know if there's enough drugs. I don't know if this country has enough drugs to get through that. We need a lot of.
Well, be careful.
Xanax. That's what you need.
Be careful what you ask for.
No, we getting exactly what we asked for.
Oh, that's fair as well too.
Woo! All right, okay. You got a word? I've got one now.
Yeah, I got a word. Yeah, I got a word.
Okay. So sit back, grab some
hide.
It's antidepressant time. You're listening to the best show, the only show, Chip Chat on Beltway Radio and beyond.
Sweeps.
All right, welcome back to Chip Chat here on Beltway Radio and beyond. I am your host, Chip. With me is Tez.
What's popping, y'all?
There you go.
Sorry, I couldn't get it. I didn't miss the cue. I missed the mute. I couldn't say it, and then it didn't happen. So I missed the mute. Sorry.
You'll get back to it.
That's okay. Look, there it is. There's the first hiccup.
All right, so now we've come to the part of the show called the Rundown. This is where we tell you about some stuff that's going on in the news.
Ding!
There you go. If we were real professionals, it would sound a little something like this.
From Beltway Radio and beyond in Washington, D.C., I'm Emmy-nominated TV newsman and just bona fide sexual beast, J. Scott Smith. And this is the part of the show where I tell some stuff about maybe not me, but somebody else is going to tell some stuff about what's happening in the news. So what's going on in the news, fellas?
Thanks, Jay.
It's always so good.
Your Lions, Jay's Lions are in a fight. They got to play the Bills this week. It's going to be exciting. Could be a shootout.
The big boy,
900 touchdowns.
I know.
It's crazy that 6 touchdowns doesn't win a game. But okay, so let's talk about the FBI. Now we're people from the Washington area, so we're pretty familiar with the FBI. They're around us all the time. It turns out they have agents all over the country, but
here we know them. They have a huge building,
giant building, the Hoover Building. It's near some good lunch spots.
Yes, from the brutalism era.
Yeah,
design.
It's also an endless source of dumb jurisdictional argument about where to move the FBI.
Yes.
You know, the Maryland, Virginia, and DC are constantly fighting. They want this thing. They want the FBI headquarters in their jurisdiction. I personally would rather it not, but okay. It's got to be somewhere, I guess.
It does have the headquarters does have to be somewhere.
It does have to exist, but maybe not.
We'll
Maybe
see.
not. Okay, so here's the thing. There is a guy who's in charge of the FBI. His name is Christopher Wray. Yep. He was appointed by Trump back in 20. There, he looks really thrilled to be taking his oath of office. By the way, what a photo, Brian!
Thank you.
That is like, yeah, all right. I guess I'll do it. Wow.
How much a year?
Yeah, he's like, how long I got till I can hit my service limit and retire?
Right.
So he's the head of the FBI. He's the FBI director. He was appointed by Trump back in 2017 because Trump fired Jim Comey.
Right.
FBI directors are given a 10-year term, specifically in the post-Watergate era. Before Watergate, just to be clear, there was like no limit on the FBI, and Herbert Hoover was FBI director for 40-something years.
Exactly. Yeah.
And people are like, that seems like a little too much power for one person.
You do it once, and you're like, that probably wasn't good. As we see what he did, what he investigated.
Yeah. He used it for good. What are you talking about?
Yeah, only good.
Only good. Unless you're, never mind. So they were like, yeah, well,
DC kid, right? Am I who?
Yeah, right? Yeah, Hoover's from here. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm not sure we want to claim him.
I know it's a weird one though. I know.
It's like the guy that investigated MLK. Oh yeah, he's one of ours for sure. Yeah, he's definitely.
Just sorry, random for people who don't know. There you go.
Really rather not.
He's like, shut up, Tez.
If he was just famous for being a cross-dresser or whatever,
right? Whatever. Cool.
We would have definitely claimed him. You're like, yeah, he's running for ANC, whatever. In DuPont.
Yeah, because you like to party in DuPont. Sure, cool. Me too. Good bars.
Well, I hear Ward 8's about to need a new
that's
representative. But
all right. Anyways, back to
the FBI. All right. So the FBI.
No, that's tied together.
Oh yes! Oh my God!
Oh, good. It's even better.
So the FBI director has a 10-year term, and Chris Wray has been serving his 10-year term, and he has been, by most measures, exactly what you want in an FBI director. He's like real middle of the road, pretty even keeled. He tries not to get the Bureau in a lot of trouble. He's always trying to figure out how to not get in trouble. He's really into this whole like transparency thing, which is a strange thing for an FBI director to be into. He goes and testifies on the Hill a lot. He talks about things a lot to people in ways that traditionally FBI directors don't. And I don't know, by my math, he's pretty good at it. And he would still be FBI director until 2017 or 2027, except for there's a problem. What's that problem, Tez?
He's got a lot of cash on him. There's a
little cream problem.
Yeah,
with a K.
There's a lot of cash on him. It's Cash Patel. Patel is gonna be. Patel. I mean, and it's just, again, we're just in these weird where obviously Donald Trump has learned from his first term and what he wants and what he doesn't want and what to enact these crazy things that he plans to do on day one. But yeah, you don't want a Christopher Wray, right, in the FBI, especially you feel that the FBI has unfairly prosecuted you and every other motherfucker who's sitting in cells for January 6th and whatever other crimes that might have been happening. And you want someone who actually buys into that. And Cash Patel is that person. I mean, he buys into these conspiracies. And he
wrote 3 children's books about King Donald defeating the slugs, which is the FBI. So that's true. I'm not making any of that up. I encourage you to read Petri's column this week. She wrote about that. Okay, who is Cash Patel? Cash Patel is nominally a lawyer. I guess he's got a bar card. He worked in various capacities in and around government and policy things, working in Trump-affiliated, advisory positions. He briefly worked at the Pentagon for a little while, but in a non-confirmed position. And his main qualification for this job is that he will do to Donald Trump what Alex Jones would do to that garden hose. And that is the only qualification that Trump cares about, is undying
loyalty
wobbling
test.
loyalty.
Yeah, that's what they are.
Cash Patel also made a fake cryptocurrency because his name is Cash. He wears this stupid little pin with a dollar sign on it. He is, by all accounts, not super well liked, let's say. Basically, people think he's an annoying, prickly nerd, and he's a shithead. And he is all of those things. But he's also somebody who, in Trump's world, the FBI doing their job is weaponizing the FBI and the Department of Justice. In the real world, what Cash Patel and his people are going to do is actually weaponizing the Justice Department and the FBI. So Ray basically said, "That's it. I'm out of here." He could either choose to stay and make Trump fire him, or he could quit, or he could get into some protracted battle or something like that. He decided, for various reasons, that he was just going to step down, which automatically triggers his deputy to take over in an acting position, which I guess he thought might be a little bit safer for the Bureau. But the reality here is that the FBI is about to become literally the brown shirts of this new fascist regime. I don't think there's another way to put this.
Yeah,
one of the things that the Trump. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm just saying, like, I believe that, but what things will be enacted, but this all comes down to the courts, right? Because things will be challenged, and I know what we expect, right? The court has been, in a sense, packed by Donald Trump, right? And we think we understand where the court will kind of navigate on these things, but whatever is done by the FBI under under the executive branch will be challenged in the courts. Like that's
but you're kind of missing the point here, and I think you're falling for the thing that a lot of people seem to be falling for. The court has no enforcement mechanism. Okay, right. In the United States, the decisions of the judicial branch are enforced by the executive branch. If you have an executive branch who does not give a fuck what the courts say, they will not enforce their court orders, and they might defy them directly. And the things that they're going to need in order to defy them directly include a security force, like, say, the FBI, with the ability to go grab people, investigate them, or arrest them if they don't agree with or don't comply with whatever it is that Trump says. In Patel, he's got a willing lieutenant who's going to execute that. So what's going to happen is he's going to say, we're going to deport American citizens, right? And they're going to grab a few of them, okay? And then somebody's going to go to court, and they're going to say, you can't do that. And the court's going to say, you're right, you can't do that. And Trump is going to say, Cash, go find out what that judge's daughter is doing at college right now and arrest her. And then he's going to send, and what's going to happen is he's going to start using the FBI and probably other government agencies that are willing to comply with him to go after these people directly in a much more violent way than people are ready for. And when that happens, why he needs people like Patel in place is because he's got to have willing lieutenants who are willing to exercise this. Because what will happen is Patel will say to, I don't know, whatever local field office, go do this thing. And the head of that field office is going to say no. And he's going to say, you know what? You're fired. Next guy up.
Let's see. This is where I think we always try to give them more credit than I think they deserve. And that's where I think the trip ups happen, right? Number one, how many people, when the judge says that's against the law, right? If in some cases the judge might be like, that is lawful, and this might be a moot point. Like, I'm not arguing that could be moot, but when the judge says that this is unlawful, how many people are going to be willing to break the law?
You don't need that many.
You don't need. I'm not going to argue that you need that many, but we're going to see that when you call that field office, when they look and be like, and I guess right now, right, because you have the executive branch behind you in a sense. So, right, it doesn't matter, right? They could easily, whatever you get charged with. And I think we are about to see how far the system can bend.
Yeah.
Where does end? Where will it actually break? Like if it breaks, where does it break? And what do those breaks actually end up causing as well? But I also still believe that the United States government is a huge cruise ship. And I don't know, like what you're saying is like very like day one, Cash Patel goes in and does, and like I don't see that. I think
it might not be on the first day. It might take like a couple of months for them to ramp this up. But all it's going to take is a few key people to get fired, or a few key people to be harassed, or thrown in jail, or something happen to them to either get everybody in line and cow them.
So like the Russia model, basically.
Yeah.
Like where they do Russia, like again, it's not the same where they go and put thousands of people in the gulag. No, they kill like 4 people,
right,
and be like, you see what happened to him, right?
Yeah. That's exactly what's going to happen. So they're going to kill a few key people or imprison a few key people. That's going to get everybody to either knuckle under or flat out have a coup. I think this is the thing
that not cause the. I mean, like the but like maybe we'll talk a little later because it's very interesting what the American people will cheer for. But like, do Americans cheer for that? Like when like Donald Trump then six. And I don't know any other way to like he six Cash Patel on Christopher Wray, right? Like because like some of these, and I mean, I think I'd be interested to hear your thoughts around like what we talked about last week that happened and broke on the air, and then more people have. So Biden seems to have a plan. I didn't know. I just asked questions on this show, and we got breaking news.
He listens to the show.
He listens to the show. He heard me questioning, and he was like, Nick, I got you, man.
Yeah. No, I'm not kidding around.
I'm not kidding around.
It's the real deal. Let me be clear.
Well, my dad used to sit down at the table.
Right.
Scranton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was this guy, Corn Pop. I pardoned him. I had to pardon him. I'm not kidding around. All right. You know who is kidding around? DJ TJ. So you may know that Donald Trump unfortunately has several offspring. One of them is called DJ TJ, who looks like what would happen if Donald Trump pasted a badger on his face and then fell down several flights of stairs before taking a photo while doing cocaine. And that's the best way to describe him. He's a philandering asshole, just like his dad, I guess. I don't know, chip off the old block, so to speak. So he's been seen with a Florida socialite, Bettina Anderson. They're holding hands and cuddling or something. I don't know.
That's not the lady from the RNC.
I don't care. Yeah, it's right. Ronna McDaniel. It's not. This isn't the story. I don't care about that. People are saying like, oh, well, he's cheating on his, let's loosely say, girlfriend, Kimberly Guilfoyle, who famously screams into every microphone she's ever seen.
Right? Isn't she usually like a surrogate on like the speaking for the Trump campaign?
Yeah, she used to work at Fox News. Then she got this weird job of being engaged to DJ TJ and yelling at everything. And so they are engaged. She's 55. His new girlfriend, I guess, is 46. So upgrade. I guess not quite Bill Belichick level, but improving. And that's kind of like, duh, who cares story. Like he's a cheating asshole. Like great if he is or not. I don't care. That's not the story. Kimberly Guilfoyle, though, she's not going to be hanging out with DJ TJ much. She's got a new job. What's her new job?
Where is she? She is. Hold on. I'm trying to. Where did I miss this? What is her new job in?
Making that face. Good Lord. That's distracting.
That is very distracting on there. If you're seeing, she looks very confused standing behind a microphone.
She is.
What is it? What is she doing? Nighttime?
No, she's the new ambassador to Greece.
Oh, this is. I didn't realize, and this is me for lack of preparation. I didn't realize that those two stories were connected. So Okay, this obviously what this is.
President-elect Donald Trump on Tuesday named former Fox News personality Kimberly Guilfoyle as his pick to be the U.S. ambassador to Greece.
So he did his son a favor.
Yeah, it seems like they're kind of working together, right? He's like, you want a new one? Go, don't worry, kid. I'll ship your current one off to Greece. Like, okay, now look, people get awarded these ambassadorships for like being donors and things, and it's often not because they have a lot of experience in those countries, and it isn't really them doing any statecraft. They're just there to shake hands and take photos. And there's like
wasn't the Jets owner the ambassador to friggin' England?
To England, right? Of all places, that's like an important relationship, right? But Woody is just like out there taking photos and being bad at football. The real person in charge of most of these embassies is the Chargé, and they're the ones who like are usually technocrats or actual state policy people. But these are just like awarded for being a good foot soldier or something. Yeah. But I don't know, like Greece is not the cherry pick that you might think it is. It would have been however many years ago, because right now
Erdogan might be out here doing some crazy shit. You walk outside, you never know.
Greece is kind of on the front line of a lot of crazy stuff right now, right? They've got a border with Turkey, which is a little bit unstable and kind of iffy. It's the front line of the migrant crisis of people fleeing the Middle East and coming into Europe. It's just recently gone through this major financial catastrophe, the austerity measures, the what's that guy's name? Kitsapis or whatever was the president for a little while. Right. They just had the 5-star thing go on. Like Greece is kind of a tumultuous place. And I don't know if she thinks she's going to be hanging out on the shores of Santorini,
maybe that's also
sipping sambuca and eating octopus, but maybe that's the best place to keep somebody like Kimberly Guilfoyle. She can't do a lot of damage out there. It just seems like when people are like, oh, these Trump people are going to be in charge, they're not going to do anything serious. They're just going to be a bunch of idiots and fleece everything and take everything for themselves. This is a good example of that. I mean, they are doing exactly that. They're just taking the apparatus of American success or government and rating it for all of its value and whatever they can take from it.
But then this goes into just the populace and what we want it to be run like a business, right? And we want it to do this. And like, I'm cool with that. Cool, you want it to be run like a business, but there is an example of this individual and how he runs his business. And we all pay into this business. And the way this is just always a complete grift, whether it's these positions that people get promised, and this could also, some people get these promised based on how big a donor they are.
Yeah.
Right. Like that. I mean, obviously not in this case here, but
they're literally buying power, literally buying authority, buying all of this stuff. It's just, I mean, it's pretty gross. It's not a business though, because of course you don't have a choice to like pick a different country to go live in and pay taxes easily.
Right.
So, I mean, you can, but some of us can't leave.
But they want this. And like, the same way when people talk about the post office and they run it, like that's not the purpose, to me at least, as I understand government.
You know what businesses need? A functional post office.
Yeah, because like the idea is that the government keeps the stability, and if we believe, I believe, and make sure people call me comrade at work today because I said some wild shit. And I was like, no, I believe in capitalism with some restraints, whatever. Don't start. Even though don't look at the books I read. But I said what to say is that like the only way that these free markets can kind of continue on is that the government creates a stable environment and the mechanisms that we have chosen that are put in place here, that they continue to move to allow people to go and open up their business.
How many Trump voters even know there's a thing called the Federal Trade Commission? There's not a chance. I mean, it's got to be like 99% of them have no idea how much government regulation allows that quote unquote free market to even exist. They don't know. They don't have it. How many of them know where fucking Greece is? They couldn't find Greece if it isn't on the stain on the paper at the bottom of their bucket of chicken. They don't know what the fuck Greece is.
That's not true.
It is true.
I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true.
Ask 20 people, Trump voter or otherwise, to point out Greece on a map. There's zero chance. Zero. Americans have no fucking clue where anything is in the rest of the world, let alone even in our own country. How many people know the capital of their own state?
I'm not arguing. But that's a larger issue.
Yeah, it's a larger issue. But I think that that Guilfoyle going to Greece does kind of get to an important thing, which is maybe that's where we should ship all of them. And just like instead of the barge, we'll just pick another country that we don't care about, full of people we already don't like, and just mail all of the Trumpistas there when this fever dream breaks, and be like, yo, you can go hang out in Greece if you can find it, and then just off you go.
But that goes against your whole thing about people are born here. You can't go choose another nation.
Oh, no, we can just deport them now.
Easily go to pay taxes somewhere else.
I was told we can deport Americans now, so it'll be fine.
You can say that now.
He did say that.
He did say that.
He said that right to Chris Wilker's face. We all saw it happen.
He did say that.
Yeah. So whatever. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a break. We're going to take a break and listen to good music, which will hopefully make us feel a little better. So then we can talk to our amazing guest, ADST, who should be hopefully still patiently waiting for us after we just spent a lot of time arguing about minutia of ambassadorships. The really exciting parts of radio.
We need to start with the guests first.
We've been doing that every now and then, but we need to fit in a little dismal nonsense beforehand just to prove that we're legitimate intellectual coastal elites.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Don't worry. Tez will be talking about economics soon enough.
Soon enough, I'll be boring you to death.
Boring to tears.
Telling you why you're not poor.
Oh my God.
That's the problem. That's the problem out here. Everybody's out here telling why you're not. And they're like, but no, I am actually poor. I don't have.
All right. Jerome Powell and I are going to take a break. We'll be right back. You're listening to ChipChat on Beltway Radio and beyond.
Sweeps.
Everybody dream.
They say everybody dreams, right? I know I do. All the time at night. We all dream, right? I know I do, baby. Check it out. Big dreams are manifesting. But at night, I admit that I am stressing. I've been through a lot before COVID. Still fighting the man in the mirror like he's my opponent. Cut so many off now, my thoughts ruminating. My pops lost his wife, yo, he lost his soulmate. It's on me, but can I handle the whole weight? Folks believe in me, but now I'm losing my faith. The question, it doesn't even matter. I got everything, but yo, it don't matter. It don't feel like I'm trying to figure out my happiness. It's like I was trying to hold up the world like I was Atlas. So now I face my fears, now those tears of pain. I've been erased away. I'm still here, I'm still grinding. Life is beautiful. I just had to change my landscape. Everybody dreams and I wonder why. We all don't believe, but we can all just try. No matter what the adversity, we can make it through. All you gotta do is live your truth. One more time. Everybody dreams and I wonder why. We all don't believe, but we can all just try. No matter what the adversity, we can make it through. All you gotta do is live your truth. They say everybody dreams and I wonder why. I wonder why. I wonder why. They say everybody dreams and I wonder why. I wonder why. I wonder why. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is ADST. I'd like to welcome you to my achievements, my regrets, my triumphs. This album is called Art. Dedicated to my father, Ronald St. Clair. As they affectionately call him Saint. I guess I'm a something to say, huh? Soul City. Once again, we connect again, brother. Judah, I see you. This is for all the dreamers and the believers out there. DMV. I see here. I'm here, baby. I've been here. I ain't going nowhere. Come on. So soulful with the believe. That's why I got Soul City with me.
All right, welcome back to Chip Chat here on Beltway Radio and beyond. I'm your host, Chip. With me is Tez.
What's poppin', y'all?
And that was our guest, ADST. ADST has been producing performing, making videos, doing all of the things in music for so many years. His newest record, which is called Art, and that is the opening track, Everybody Dreams. It's already rocketing up the charts on YouTube with over 100K plus views, even though I'm not in the video. And now he joins us here. ADST, welcome to ChipChat.
Ding, ding, ding. Did he already
What's up?
jump?
What's going on? What's good? How y'all feeling?
I'm feeling great. You're here, so
Yes.
we're excited.
Thank you.
No
Thank
doubt,
you.
no doubt, no doubt, no doubt. Listen, I'm happy being in the house, and I appreciate the earlier commentary. Y'all was schooling me on a lot, so hey, listen, look, keep me in the loop because I'm in the silo here in this room, so I
Well,
appreciate it.
we're sorry
Appreciate
to
the
bore you to
commentary.
I
tears.
know it's a lot.
Oh no, I was interested. I was interested. The show.
All right, so that song, Everybody Dreams, you mentioned the line, one of the lines I really wanted to ask you about. You mentioned feeling like Atlas holding up the world. Tell us
Yep.
about that, because I mean, personally, I think a lot of us, I don't want to speak for Tez, but I feel like that quite a lot of the time.
Right.
So, why do we all feel like that these days?
Right. So that came in. So that song is really talking about what was going on at that period of time. A little background for you: in 2021, my stepmother was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and so basically terminal. And so my father was bedridden at that time, right? So meaning he couldn't walk anymore. He had a disability, so he only could move his right side of his body, not the left. So his body kind of conked out, so he couldn't really get around anymore. She was his caretaker. So anyway, when all of this went down, I went down to like basically take care of both of them, and we were taking turns, me and my stepbrothers. And so it was just all of these things that were just going on at that time with like helping them, family life. And I'm traveling between, here in North Carolina, if not every week, every other week. And it was just like, yeah, like I'm trying to hold everything together, and it's just like the pressure. So that was what that metaphor was about, just the pressure of like what was going on at that time. And I'm sure we all can relate to that, with families, responsibilities, so that's what it was. It just like, all this pressure is on me.
I felt like it was a good way to talk about, they call us the sandwich generation, that we're at that age where we've got our kids that we're taking care of, and we've also got parents who are aging who we're taking care of, or other family, and
Right.
basically like nobody's looking at us. We're not caring
Right.
for ourselves at all.
Right. Right.
It's burning the candle at both ends. It's leading to a lot of destructive behaviors. I know in my case, in particular, I think we're all sort of well known for our various destructive behaviors, and it just feels. I know that it's for everybody. It's individual how they feel like Atlas, but that I was grateful to hear it in the song because it felt like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, that's something I relate to. It feels like it feels a little personal there.
To riff on that a little, I was gonna say that on that ADST, like when you're feeling like that, obviously the music obviously sounds like that's like one of the outlets, but like how are you able to kind of do the music, but then also like give yourself like a space to like at a certain point you could be so strong, but you got to rest them arms. Like, I guess, what do you do? And like, what allows you to like almost, I don't want to say detach, but more, I guess, decompress to go back to holding everything back up.
Right. So at that time, that's what I was doing, was writing in that situation. That was my only outlet because I couldn't do anything else. I only had like maybe an hour to myself. So at that period of time, but in general, disconnecting, I would say sometimes I do still struggle with it, but I think we all do. But what I will say is this: every hour, at least when I work, I give myself 10 minutes every hour to walk away, decompress. So that's what I do for myself. I'll go walk, or I'll do something, for myself. And then a lot of times after work, the first hour is like decompressing. So, don't laugh at me, but I could, everybody laughs, but I got like old school Cosby Show on or something like that. Something I watched something that from when we were growing up that I connect to that was peaceful, whether it be that. Look, on YouTube, G.I. Joe's on 24/7, something like lighthearted that I know but don't have to pay attention.
That's
That's
real.
how so that's the decompression where it kind of like settles the soul. you're hearing something comforting, or even if it's just like, for example, playing, like I like online, playing poker, playing solitaire, just stuff that, just kind of just detach, you know.
My wife
So
has gotten really into watching all the Hallmark movies like nonstop. That's
yeah.
been her like, oh shit, Trump got elected. I need something to soothe me. Hallmark movies.
Right.
That's her thing.
Yeah. But things like that, yeah, just kind of like, I think prioritizing that for yourself, like, like at least definitely if you have like a high stress job, at least like an hour to yourself, to hop into something else. And then even like really like, if you're into like meal prepping, I think that's ideal. Like I only cook like ideally like twice a week, Sunday and like on today or Thursday. Those are the only days I cook. That's more time that I have for myself.
I love yeah, cooking is definitely my like stress relief thing. That's what I like to do.
Yeah.
It feels good to me. So this
Hmm.
project, speaking of cooking, is when we talked to Roger Mooking, one of the things that he said is that he refers to making music the same way that he refers to cooking, that it's really kind of the
Yeah.
same thing. This
Yeah.
project here is a collection of collaborations. You've got a lot of people on this
Definitely.
record. Some of
Yeah.
these songs we heard as singles beforehand, like "Hello," I
Hmm.
know came out,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was a big deal. So, what is this collaborative process like for you, and how is that working with everybody?
Yeah. Sure. So initially, I'll give you a little background. The album wasn't called Art. I had another album that was going to be called Definition of Doubt too, and it was just going to be features. But I've always worked with collaboration, but I had a story to tell, hence me being on the mic. And so with collaborations, when I hear a track, it's like, all right, who do I hear with it? A lot of times I'll come with, with the concept of, okay, this is what we're doing. So like you see that in like the hate made wanted to talk about gun violence, and so okay, you know, who could I bring in? EXO, bring in with Katrina. So Block of P, but I felt like okay, yeah, with that patois, to really emphasize things. So when I create something, I hear it, and so most of the songs that you hear on pretty much every song, like the concepts as far as like what I'm envisioning, I'll articulate that to the artist and say, okay, this is what I'm trying to do. Try again. That song, it was like that hook. Like I wrote that hook just like when I created, that's what I heard what you hear Terry singing, like, you gotta make it happen, dreams come true. Again, around this whole same time period, all this is stuff, that's going on. Uh, so pretty much that, just bringing in people, like having an ear to like say, okay, I think this person sounds good over this. Say it this way or do this that way. So just coming up with the concepts and just, presenting it and say, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. Some of the songs I already had verses, and it was just like, hey, this is what I'm doing. Here's my verse. Hop on.
So, does that mean that you're sort of able to keep, how like you might be, say, composing a song, right? And you're like, okay, this is where I want the flute, or this is where I want a violin, riff to come through. Does that mean you're carrying around the sound and the style and abilities of all of the rest of the DC like music scene as if they're instruments, and you can call them up when you're like,
Good question.
I
I
really
heard you.
need a
Yeah.
Kenilworth Katrina
Yeah.
line right here, and then
Right.
he
Yeah.
just shows up.
Yeah. Sometimes and just sometimes it's just like organic the way it happens. I can have an idea, like so for example, Summer's Eden. When you heard that I had a whole totally different vision that song and Tim was in there. I wanted to get Chamber on that song. And he was like, oh, he I guess I think his verse wasn't ready or whatever. And then Sean Bourne hops on and he totally like takes the song somewhere else. So that's like organic, right? But then, like I said, when you have like fame, when you hear that, like I knew what I wanted to do with that, like how I wanted that to flow, and I knew like okay, I know this person's voice, I know his cadence and style. So like you're saying, like from an instrumentation standpoint, as far as using vocalists, right? Because vocalists are in a sense instruments. And then Like the last song again, like try again, like bringing in, again collaboration. So bringing in somebody like Kev Bright, playing a lot of those different keys on there. Like do this, do this. This is what I'm hearing. Things that I may not necessarily do, or I can do, but I feel like this person is better. Um, I brought in a lot of bases with the hate maids. Now I didn't keep what he did, but it's still like, hey, this is what I'm thinking. But I replayed the bass myself. But like hearing things, okay, I can tweak this. And a lot of the songs that you're hearing, at least like have been recorded like multiple times, just because like, no, this is like how I want to say it. And I did different things in different ways. So there's other versions of those songs where, at least from my part as a vocalist, and there's a couple of the artists totally different.
Are
Just
you
listening to tweak it.
are we gonna get some of those maybe in some remixes later?
I have them in the vault. I was thinking about either doing remixes or I'm looking at putting it on vinyl.
Mm.
And so I'm thinking about I'm going to do a vinyl run. So I've been having conversations about that and maybe putting it on there as bonus. Or if I don't put it on there, I'm thinking about releasing it as an EP, a free EP as like a thank you. So I'm still teetering between which one to do. But yeah, definitely. And there's like 3 songs that um are on the album. The only reason why they're not on the album is because they listen to cohesiveness and how it sounds. I just said, okay, these sound out of place because then it's going to sound like a mixtape. So the way that I heard it and the way that it's flowing, it's like telling a story and it flows together.
It certainly does. Tez, you look like you had something you wanted to.
Oh,
to
I was just
say on
gonna
that.
jump in because I think for those who don't know, right, the acronym for art is achievements, regrets, triumphs, right?
Right. Yeah.
Right. Which I thought
Yeah.
that's just like a really dope ass acronym. I guess my
Yeah.
question would be for the listeners, what would be like one achievement, one regret, and one triumph that you could share with us? Like, would you have all 3 of those that you could share? Is there anything that comes to mind?
Yeah. Yeah. So the achievement, I would say, in general, would be um, being able to keep and sustain everything that I have with for the most part being unemployed for 7 months. Not losing my house,
Mm,
not losing my car, straight hustling. So I would say that's an achievement.
mm,
The
Sure is.
regret the regret that you're hearing is on Fly Away. And I'm talking about my relationship with my father. I think that a lot of times we have complex relationships sometimes with our parents. And on that one, the regret was that, I wish I could have been a better son. But I'm thankful, which I said in the verse, like the last 5 months, we really had, it was just me and him. And so we had a lot of time to reflect on our relationship. So that was the gift. And then the triumph, I would just say, would be oh gosh, the triumph of just the adversity, um, dealing with depression. Now, sometimes we all, go through it, but just that time period, like when I look at like all of the things that have occurred within the time period of what this album is encapsulating, it's like 6 years of my life of everything, and to be here with you guys. I mean, that's a triumph within itself. I think a lot of times, a lot of people would fold, and not to say that I didn't have my moments. I mean, definitely, I had some bad habits that, that during that time period of, getting through things, but to be here, you know, and it be a testimony, that's the triumph.
I
no,
think people
yeah,
don't take enough credit for just simply making it like a little bit.
right.
Like
Yeah.
staying status quo is an achievement. Like you should get
Yeah.
credit for being able to keep your head
Yeah.
above water in this economy.
I
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
thought it was interesting too, like to mention regret, because it's always like the cliche, like no one has any regrets or something like that. But
Yeah.
in this case
Yeah.
here, they put that out there. I thought was like,
Yeah.
oh, all right,
Yeah.
because I think most people might say they don't have regrets, but in our most
Yeah.
honest moments, we would be like,
Right.
yes, there's 1 or 2
Right.
things, if not more, that we are regretful for. So
Right. And so if you listen to Fly Away, it's like the 5th song, which is the middle song, and it is the nucleus of the album with the
mm,
regrets. So not only am I talking about that, I'm talking about like my ex fiance. I'm talking about my relationship with my daughter. It's
mm,
coded, but me and my daughter went through something where we were not talking, not living together for a long period of time, and so it also wraps up with us rekindling our relationship. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
that's like, and I wanted to do something actually throughout the whole. It's relatable, right? And I've had a lot of people that have called me about that song, like, wow, I've been through that, with my father, my daughter, so or in this relationship. So, definitely wanted to make something that people could understand and talk about it because I'm being honest, right? I'm eating crow on that song.
Right.
you know,
Right.
Yeah, but
I said I wasn't a good son. Hey, I'm sorry I did this to you. Um, hey, we all live and learn. We grow.
The
I think
vulnerability is
the
commendable. I mean, it's just,
vulnerability
yeah,
is
exactly.
critical, and it's authentic. That's the thing that
Right.
like
Yeah,
that kind of gets to this next.
Genuine feeling there.
Yeah, because right
yeah,
now people are really into like authentic music that comes from, they don't
yeah,
want to hear people talking about things that they haven't actually experienced and stuff. And that's always been a critical part of hip hop. It's a big part of
yeah.
like country music. People really don't like it when, people never owned a truck and are singing about it or whatever.
Right.
The hip hop world is in a bit of turmoil right now for in various ways.
And there's a lot of stuff going on right now.
There's a lot of stuff going on, but it's also
Yeah,
happening while hip hop is sort of totally taken its place as the guiding force of the cultural mainstream. It's been driving the culture, the mainstream culture for a long time, dominating the
yeah,
airwaves and stuff without people
yeah,
really acknowledging it. But it's starting to get
yeah.
not starting. It is now the thing that people are willing to talk about in a way
Mhm.
that is culturally relatable and significant that they wouldn't have talked about 10, 15 years ago. So with all of that
Right.
going on, how is that kind of topsy-turvy world reflecting in the music world and specifically amongst creators like you and the people that you're working with on some of these records?
Yeah, I think always there's so much going on with like you're saying, being authentic and then trying to be your authentic self with trying to break through. And that's really, really hard, right? It's, can you find your tribe, and are they gonna, show out for you? So I think that's what's going on. I think a lot of times you see, and it's just like capitalism, right? People, see something and they want to ride that way because hey, that's the quickest way for a dollar. I think also for independent artists that don't have the big budgets, right? So it's like, what can you do to compete, right? And so that's something like with radio, like those are things that like for us that we constantly are trying to work on and trying to figure out like how can I compete and how can I be myself where the world can see it. And then even here at a I don't want to say in this area of being that it's micro, but at the micro level of being here as an artist, it's even struggles with just trying to be able to have a place to present your art, with venues. And in every year, something like this year is the wildest year with like so many doors closing with like, at least for me, relationships that I had before. And now it's like where I had these deals or I would say deals with certain venues now where those people that I work with, they're gone. Somebody may have bought them out or they're just gone, right? And then now it's like, okay, well, how many tickets did you sell at your last show?
Right.
you know,
Wow.
and so now it's going to data and all of these different things, and or you have to buy the place out. And a lot of people, they don't have that money, but that to do those things. So that's I think it's it's great that hip hop is blowing up, but it's a lot of politics behind the scene. And so I think for a lot of artists, sometimes they may straddle the line of like maybe doing things per se that they don't want to do to try to catch a wave to get attention, you know. And so I talk about some of this stuff loosely on Fame, um, and we talk about it on there about what people do, for attention, right? And you see people out here right now, just you look at it and it's like that's not them, but they're doing it because they're trying to either be famous or they're trying to get their music out. So yeah, that's the only problem.
You know what that reminds me of is Priest's favorite word to talk about: infrastructure.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
the lack
Yeah, that
thereof.
conversation. Yeah. And
Yeah, yeah,
And it seems like, when he mentioned that to us, like it was a couple of years ago,
yeah.
everybody we've
yeah,
talked to since then basically has come back to that same thing: is that the infrastructure and support for the arts
yep,
just isn't there. And we
right,
need it. We need like 3 or 4 dedicated venues in the city that are willing to just put this stuff on so that people can come out and see it on a Wednesday night or whatever.
And I think
yeah,
that's where, like, at least in as I was kind of growing up in this, right? Like, I just remember there used to be like spots, and whether it was like the beat grinders, like on U Street, like there was spots where people could express themselves, whether it was
yeah,
like
U Street,
Bar
yeah,
None, and like there was like,
yeah,
and even like places, there were places in like Tenley Town, there was places across the city. And like for me, it's
mhm,
interesting where this is where I would look to like government to actually come in and to actually like
mhm,
fund some of these creative spaces. Because one thing I also like, everybody was like, the crime is going out of control. But like one thing I know is that like when you had a lot more of these music spots, I'm not saying that never nothing popped off, but
right,
people were
right,
more outside to enjoy themselves. I think the environment was completely different than like I watched something like even a U Street Music Hall turn into a hookah lounge. Hookah ain't really my
yeah,
thing. I ain't like, again, I
yeah,
ain't I ain't hating on nobody who enjoys the hookah, but I'm just saying like there should be a
yeah,
balance of these things, and it's not there.
That's why, like, our friends at the Anacostia Arts Center, like what they're doing is,
Right. Yes.
we
yeah,
need
yeah,
that duplicated in several other
Because I see they do
places.
like I think they did like a crate conventions I've seen. I
Yeah,
feel like loosely
yeah.
and
Shout out
like
to RBI. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
RBI does
yeah,
those. Yes.
yeah,
So it's
and
yeah.
like
they've got performance space and they've got
how do we do
workshops and they've
more?
got all
Yeah.
of that. Yeah, Baltimore's
Yeah.
got a few of them up there, that, that they're working
But
on, but
think about why Baltimore and as I
because
think
they've got a
about when,
young, smart mayor who
but like
cares about that.
yeah, but like even when DC had some of these things, I think we were in a transition state, and like where U Street was transitioning to really what it is now. And I almost wonder, like, do things like thrive in those kind of like transition areas where like, because it just doesn't, the way it evaporated so quick is kind of like, I don't think it's, I don't know, it's not on us as like the artists
I
to
have a solution.
But also, but it's also before you say that, but you got to also realize that DC is a transient city, right?
right.
So when you're talking about U Street, right, and you're talking about the struggles of those businesses staying afloat, and then what's happening? You have people that are not from here that don't understand the culture, don't may have any respect for the culture, right? And so that's part of the problem. They don't understand, they don't know anything of what we're talking about from the art scene. So they're gonna emulate what they feel, from either what they know or their friends know, but there's nobody really in there that's championing, the culture.
Yeah.
And so
So
that's
I
the that's and that's the problem. They just don't have people.
and there's a big role for like local radio in that, but the fact that a lot of the music radio stations are now like programmed from New York or whatever, there's no local
Yeah,
DJs actually doing any of that except for what's on PFW basically. Like that
yeah,
kind of stuff is really critical because that does bring the people who are not from here. They flip on the radio and they hear something, and then they can get the DJ comes in and says that was so and so with this new record, so and so.
yeah,
That was Everybody Dreams from ADST's new record, Art, go get it. Like,
yeah,
it then creates, that community around the music and around the radio
yeah,
station. But I
yeah,
have a solution to our
yeah.
venue problem. You want to know
I'm
the
listening.
solution?
Yeah,
Okay,
let's
here's
hear it.
here's what we do. Shh, don't tell everybody. We create a
Nobody's listening.
That's fine. We create a music venue, but
Uh-huh.
we name it Dog Park, and then the whole council will vote to fund it. But
Hey,
it's
that's
not.
dope.
It's a music venue. Shh, don't tell.
Right.
Yeah.
Dog
We're
park.
just funding
I'm
the
with
dog
it.
park.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll call it the
Dog.
Adrian Fenty Memorial Dog Park. He doesn't even have to die yet. We can just name it
Fancy. I ain't
after
heard
him.
his name in a minute.
Yeah,
I haven't
yeah,
heard
yeah.
his
Yeah.
name
Put,
in a minute.
put McDuffie in there somewhere. He'll vote for it too.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway,
Yeah,
sorry.
but no, just to elaborate, what you're talking about radio play, like artists for us, like, I get most of my radio play on college radio, Canada, and in Europe. But like my music is constantly playing on those stations, on college radio, community radio. Those are the people that are open because those are the people that, they're not from a programming standpoint, right? There's nothing to do with money in a sense, So, but that's where we get our burn at, And so if we get played on those stations, they're playing us either in the mix or like on some hip hop night, no disrespect, like on a
No,
Sunday or whatever,
right.
right? Yeah. Or they have like a little segment, like, okay. And I've been featured on all of those things here locally. So I'm not throwing any shade, but I'm just saying that's the opportunity, right? You know? So
We've got
that's
friends like Blacklick playing stuff down on WRIR in Richmond. It's funny that you mentioned that though, because like I'm somebody who loves college radio. I love
I'm
it.
so happy to hear that still is happening, though.
It does still exist, and
Good to hear
outside
that.
of the East Coast, there's a lot of college radio. But like one of the things that I like about when I have to go up to New York is I can catch WTMD out of Towson, and then I can catch WXPN out of Penn. And then I can get up when I'm in New York. I can get Fordham. WFDU is like Fordham's radio station is really good.
Yeah.
There's a high school radio station that's been broadcasting off of maybe Kent Island or something like that in Maryland. You can pick up near the Susquehanna River. That's dynamite, and they've got a wide variety of stuff. So important is college radio and the way that people expand their music and meet new music, that XM has a fake college radio station where they're trying to use an algorithm to program something that sounds like college radio. It's called XMU, and it's like it's not that, but it wants to be that.
Yeah.
That's where the real community around the music is.
Yeah. My music is being played constantly in San Antonio. Talk about college, Old Dominion's playing it, It's being played out Rochester. Shout out to DJ Clip out in Portland, Oregon. I mean, he's constantly playing like me and free stuff. So there's definitely markets here that across the board that we're hitting, and so it's getting spins there. And like I said, out in Canada as well. So Bristol in UK, that's one of the places that I could think of. Paris, we just had a spin out in Paris the other week. So, but that's where we're getting our bang for our buck at. But as far as like terrestrial radio and anything above that, like that 92 point line, again, if we're going to be on there a lot of times because they can't play whatever they want to play, right? So because
Right.
No, it's got to be programmed.
right, it's so right because the program. So if you're going to get in or if they sneak you in, it's on the mix. You know, maybe on the mix like during the mix segment, or like I said on a Sunday, or like okay, this station has a segment on Saturday where they highlight that, but that's the only thing, right? So it has to be something that's viral enough, right? Where they
Right.
see something to kind of force the hand to say, okay, you know, like $1 million baby, right?
Yeah,
So
now
it's
we got to play it. So bringing it
right,
back to
yeah,
this album, you
mhm,
mentioned like what art stands for and the
yeah.
focus that you hope to bring to the listeners. How do you want people to interact with this and engage with the album?
Really like sit down, listen to it. It's driving music. But the album overall is an inspirational album. The album is reflective of whether you're a male, really, I would say a male in general, the male experience, not saying black male or anything like that, just overall the male experience because of like what we go through, right? I've been a champion in mental health, but talking about the things that we're going through, but then there's the songs like the world is mine. Like there's things in there that like, again, try again. There's songs on there for upliftment and spirit, to uplift your spirit. And just like, hey, when you're going through something, that album right there is motivation music, like to get you out the rut, you know. And then there's like there's information on there. There's things that like, oh, I was going through this period of time. I'm talking about it, hey, like everybody dreams, inspirational so that's the context of like really for me like I think like when we did the album release I think anybody that went there excuse me that was part of the event that came out I think you really got the context because me and Priest really broke down that album song to song but yeah it's something for everyone on there Like I think that you can tangibly listen to that album and apply it to your life.
It certainly resonates for me. I've been listening to it, pretty consistently since it came out.
Yeah.
I like to put it on while I'm at work, which it does lift me up. I'm hitting something dreary, and all of a sudden the beat comes on. I'm like, okay, I can power through this a little bit longer.
Yeah, so that's that motivation music.
So where should people go to get it, and how can they follow you and keep up with your events and tour schedule and all that kind of good stuff?
Right, definitely. So adstmusic.com is the website. You go there, the album is available there. I do have it on Bandcamp as well. It's currently not available for streaming. I have not put it on streaming because we do not get paid for streaming. I've made more money. Yeah, I've made more money, kind of like hand to hand, like drug transactions, than I would ever do. I would say I have like over 200,000 streams, and I've made more money from doing it this way. So at some point, I will put it on there. But anyway, that's where you can get the album. In regards to anything that I'm doing show wise, I would say stay up with the updates. Follow me on Instagram, adst.music. And then also I have a Facebook page, ADST Music. That's pretty much where I feed the algorithms at. So anything I'm doing, look out. I'm in the discussions right now, just FYI, for a show in February. We're looking to do something then. Shout out to I'll keep it in the bag. But looking out for
anticipation.
Yeah. So looking for a show February. I'm gonna do another listening event in March at probably Eaton. And then Eden Hotel, and then I'm looking to do a larger show, like an ADST show for this album. I'm looking at maybe May, so I'm trying to get that together now.
It sounds amazing. I'm sorry I couldn't make it. I was wanting to come out for that for the album.
Oh, it's all good.
It's
listen, I'm doing it again. I'm gonna do it again. At Eaton does this A to B session, so I talked to them about doing it. So. I'm going to reintroduce it. Like I said, if I don't do it in March, I'm going to see how the weather is, but I have an open invitation, but I'm just want to see what the weather is. It's cold right now. A lot of people are trying.
Yeah.
And it's the holidays.
And the holidays too. Those.
Right. Yeah. So I'm looking at March, April to do something there, but it's going to be like another listening session.
Well, we're excited for it, and when you when you drop that, we'll go ahead and promote it. Make sure everybody knows to go check it out.
Yeah.
So we want to go hit a break before we let you go. We know it's a school night. It's still one more day of the week that you got to get to work and all that stuff.
I enjoyed this. So I know we're going on the break. I enjoyed this as a Jamaican. I really enjoyed this.
Oh, you enjoyed this one? That's
appreciate it. I appreciate it. Yeah,
my boy Choppy chopping there.
Choppy, Choppy produced it.
I saw. Yes, I did see that as well too. Yes, I saw Choppy.
Yeah. So yeah, we had to go back in the lab. So if you heard hello, again, feel good, upbeat. I wanted to do something because the song was crazy. I always wanted to work with Choppy, and I was like, Choppy, do your thing. And he took it somewhere totally different when we heard it. And so the whole thought was like, we're going to do the same rhymes, but a different beat. When we heard that beat, we were like, nah, we just need to do this totally different. So new verses, new lyrics, and to get the lady to whine, So
tell them line up. You have to line up. Line up a little. A little bit, man.
All right, so we're gonna play. This is the remix. Is it officially a remix? Is that what we want to call it?
The remix. Hello remix.
It's the remix. It's
Hello remix.
It's the Hello remix. It's a wildly different song, like you mentioned. It's a lot of fun. We can't wait. So we're gonna play that. We're gonna go to the break. ADST, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Man.
Appreciate this, man.
We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Appreciate all your insight and wisdom and stuff. We love the record. Everybody go out, get it. Art is the new record. Please go get it. You can get it off the website, ADST Music. It's fantastic. We're going to take a break and play Hello Remix. You're listening to Chip Chat on Beltway Radio and beyond.
Come on. Let's go.
Yes, sir. Give me something for Wayne to know. Let's go. give you what you need. I give you what you want. Satisfaction guaranteed. You know that's no cap. You know that's not me. I give you what you want. Satisfaction guaranteed. Hello. I love everything about you when it comes to us. I never doubt you. I love your touch. Love what you're doing. You whisper in my ear. How you doing? I wanna hold you very tight. That dress looks good. Ain't no mites. We talking trips. I'm talking international. Clear waters on the tropics. You the topic. Go ahead and drop it. My oasis, just know that's an everyday basis. We in the Hamptons, in the Aspens. Come get this good loving. Ain't no capping. Let me treat you. I'm on that fly shit, so high with it, vibe with it. You can't deny it. Let's face it, like conversations in the mirror. You for me, I'm for you. Love forever. I give you what you want. I give you what you need. I give you what you want. Satisfaction guaranteed. You know there's no cap. You know that's not me. I give you what you want. Satisfaction guaranteed.
Excuse me, you're a little cutie with that tight dress on. I gotta say you amuse me. Let's go somewhere to a place nice and chill. Converse for a while, lay back and chill. Move to the dance floor. The way you wind your waist makes me want you even more. Go to the crib, your body I wanna explore. Make you feel pleasure and pain. In the fall I make it summer rain. I hear you coming again.
I give you what you want. I give you what you need. I give you what you want. Satisfaction guaranteed. You know there's no cap. You know that's not me. I give you what you want. Satisfaction guaranteed. I give you what you want. I give you what you need. I give you what you want. Satisfaction guaranteed. You know there's no cap. You know that's not me. I give you what you want. Satisfaction guaranteed.
If you want diamonds and pearls, girl, I give it to you. One chinchilla furs, girl, I give it to you. Tris to Montego Bay, I'll charter the jet right away. I'm planning too far ahead. We haven't even spoke or said hello. 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 It's so nice to meet you, girl. Hello. Hello. Hello.
this morning. The vitamins, the minerals, the amino acids. The vitamins, the minerals, the the vitamins, the minerals, the amino acids. The vitamins, the minerals. That's Turbo Force. 5 different types of caffeine. Doesn't have the crash. 5 different types of caffeine. That's Turbo Force. 5 different types of caffeine. Doesn't have the crash. 5 different types of caffeine. That's Turbo Force. Plant derived. 500 milligrams. Slow burn. The very best. I want a long burn. Plant derived. 500 milligrams. Slow burn. The very best. That's Turbo Force. I tell you what, I'm feeling a lot of energy. My brain's sure working good right now. Good right now. Good right now. Pre-workout, next level, Turbo Force. Turbo Force. Pre-workout, next level, Turbo. It's Turbo Force. And get the fish oil.
5 different kinds of caffeine. I never get tired of that one.
It's too good.
Man, choppy chop, man. How about that?
Yeah. No, when I saw that one, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that dude's pretty wild. That was cool.
No, it was definitely dope. It was good to see. Yeah, there's a lot of. I realized this as I look back of my time in like this DC hip hop scene. I was like, oh, everybody who's talking was like, I know that. Like, I was like, oh, I know this person too. Like, no, it's good to see that like-minded individuals like still like make that connection and like make the dope music that goes along with that.
The scene is still alive. It is not dead by any stretch. Speaking of which, Drew Kidd texted me the other day to let me know.
Yes, he has. I should have said that too. Yes, he's dropped a new project.
He did, and he mentioned that that I'm on it, and I got a shout out in the liner notes. But I'm the very beginning of that whole record actually. The interview he did with us, you know.
Yeah. No, he's Drew. That man is a genius.
That's some like avant-garde amazing right there. I was listening to it while I was driving around and I was having a really good time. And then I put it on while I was working too. That's what I told him that. I texted him. I was like, hey man, this is really good driving music. And it's also really good like working music because it's not that ambient nonsense. It's like it's enough to keep you focused on your task, but it gives you something to pay attention to. And it's dynamite stuff. So go check out Drew Kidd. He's got new stuff. That's also available at Bandcamp. And make sure you pay your artists. You know, if it's pay what you can, pay a lot. People need that money. All right.
It isn't free.
You ready for international news?
International news. News.
There's countries outside of the United States. You believe it?
A lot of them.
Yeah. Well, one of them's called Syria, but it's not a country anymore.
It's a country.
Maybe. I don't know. Who's in charge? That's right. So like the concept of a nation state as we understand it in a Eurocentric sort of weird Cardinal Richelieu sort of way, Syria maybe kind of exists still. It's got borders and you can see when you're in it and when you're not in it. But other than that, Bashar al-Assad ain't there. He has fled to Russia. Right. And the guys in charge are the former Al-Qaeda in Iraq guys, I guess, or what did they used to call themselves? The Nusra Front. I think that was what they were for a bit. It reminds me of that bit in Life of Brian and Monty Python when the rebels can't figure out like what they're calling themselves, and they're like, "Oh, we're the People's Front of Judea." No, we're the Judean People's Front, and it's like just pick a name. These guys did pick a name. It's called HTS. They don't know what it stands for. Nobody knows what it stands for. That's fine.
It gets the people going.
Yeah, and what's really funny is when you're hearing a lot of coverage of it from British people, they call it HTS.
HTS.
Yeah. HTS. Yeah,
HTS.
The hard H. Yeah.
You have to get your H. I mean, you know what else a nation state usually needs to have?
A capital,
government, and a navy.
A navy. Yeah. Well, they had one. Believe it or not, Syria had a navy. Who knew? It's 15 ships.
That's a lot of ships.
It's a lot. I mean, I know that Russia had a port there, like that was their sub base for a while. It was their only way, like out to Sevastopol, but they had a base there in Syria. Syria's coastline's about 5 minutes wide. It's you could drive. You'd be forgiven if you didn't know there was a coast of Syria.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, because there's like the end of Lebanon, and then there's this tiny bit of Syria, and then Turkey. And so like it just sticks out enough to like have a coastline. Who needs a navy when you've got a coastline that's smaller than how long New Hampshire's coastline is? It's 18 miles. You know how long Syria's coastline is? It's about that.
About 18 miles, yeah.
Who needs a navy? But they had one. They don't have it anymore. You know why?
Can I call this a rogue state? This state doesn't seem to adhere to what international law and what people have, or not even international law, what is being asked of from the international community. And I just don't know where I'm at right now, whether it's from Lebanon. Like, it seems as in clear as day that a president is trying to stay in power and continuously going out against the will of their primary backers. Hey, I should go get my little flag. I don't know where my flag is at. I'm gonna go get my flag in a minute. I'm just very confused where we're at with this, and how many new conflicts can Bibi get into to protect him from his inevitable fate.
So the thing that you're sort of dancing around and that we just need to say out loud is that the Israelis are bombing stuff in this now toppled Syria. Like, okay, so Syria is a place with a lot of stuff in it, and it had a bunch of weapons, probably does have a bunch of weapons still in there, and the Israelis are understandably concerned that some of those weapons may fall into the hands of people who wish to do Israel harm. So in the vacuum where Assad isn't there and HTS doesn't really have the sovereignty to maintain their borders, the Israelis have launched hundreds of strikes, like 350 strikes inside the borders of Syria within the space of this 10-day period when Assad was there and then not. Okay, it's like a week and a half of revolution. The Israelis are just bombing anything that could potentially hurt them. If somebody's got a sharp stick, Israel bombed it. Like, that was it. They bombed the entire Navy, 15 naval vessels. They've launched an incursion across the DMZ line that has been in place since 1973. It's the only DMZ that Israel's respected for that period.
Right. It's almost as, and I obviously know that they've never been friends of the Assad regime. Like, obviously, I know that. And even I can understand, all right, well, we now have a state capital that has, I mean, it's been, again, nation's capital, in a sense, has been taken over, right? This happened very quickly. I just don't know how many, and maybe they're not looking to having stability in the region. I just don't know how starting it off while leveling all, like, because you didn't do this when right, Assad was clearly in control over the last 10 years. And even when there was the civil war, they never had a response like this either. Like,
yes and no. The Israel, okay.
They didn't bomb the Navy while the
they didn't bomb the Syrian Navy, but the Israelis have never been shy about attacking stuff in Syria, whether Assad's been in charge or not. They will.
Because what's that? The Golan, like, I guess the Golan Heights, is that in a sense?
Yeah. So the Golan got seized in 73 at the end of the Yom Kippur War when Syria had attacked Israel, and Israel, and they were using the Golan as a space to shoot down at Israel. It's a very strategic position. Right. The Israelis said, "We're not letting that ever happen again." They snatched it back, and then they essentially grabbed a bit of space past the Golan to create a buffer zone. The UN enforced this buffer zone since 73 successfully, I would point out. But throughout the rest of the time since then, the Israelis have been pretty willing to bomb stuff in Syria. If they see Hezbollah doing things there, they'll attack it. If they see the Iranians moving weapons through there, they'll attack it. And by and large, the Assad regime didn't fight back. They never threatened anything. They never went to the UN and complained. They never really did anything.
Stupid to do that, though.
Right. So to say that the Bibi government really, they weren't necessarily friends with the Assad regime, but it's my read that for the last, I would say, 35 years since Bashar al-Assad's been in charge, right, the son, that the Israelis have regarded the Syrians as more interested in their own self-preservation than anything else, and that they are essentially neutral, that they can kind of do what they want with them. Like, they could buy them off, essentially. If they need something to happen, they'll do it, and then they'll kick some money at the Syrians and tell them to shut up for a little while or whatever. They'll provide them a little bit of diplomatic cover. Keep in mind that the thing that really nobody often discusses about the Assad issue is that was a minority government. You know, it's not too dissimilar from other places where you've got a minority group that's in charge, oppressing the majority of the country.
Yes.
And so, you know, it's an ethnic conflict to some extent. It's a religious conflict to some extent. The HTS guys that are coming in, who, despite their roots in being affiliated with Al-Qaeda, have gone to great lengths to try to say that they're going to be pluralistic and respect other religious groups. Syria is not a mono-religious place like some of these other countries that we're dealing with. It's got a lot of conflicting groups in there. There's the Assad group, which is the Alawites. You've got a lot of Christians there. You've got several different flavors of Islam, and you've got a bunch of Kurds, all kind of mixed together within these lines that were drawn by the English for some God-known reason.
We just know why.
We know why.
Yeah, we know.
Goddamn English. But sorry, Tez, didn't mean to offend you.
No,
but,
I'm not English.
Right, we know.
Okay.
But,
okay, please continue on with bashing.
But in any case, like, you know, what are we talking about? Like, the Israelis are taking advantage of the power vacuum. It's clear that they wouldn't have done this when Assad was there because it would risk angering the Russians. But without him there, that doesn't really matter. The Russians don't have a dog.
Russians are busy. This is the reason this has happened, is because Iran and Russia are busy. This is exactly the reason this has happened.
Right. So we wanted to talk about like how rapidly HTS moved from their base in Idlib, which is nowhere near Damascus.
I thought this was going to be one of those, because again, if we can take people back, like really back into the Obama administration, right? And the red line of chemical weapons being used. And like, again, like this is a different time the Arab Spring kicking off, and whether it was in Egypt or I want to even say, was Tunisia part of this as well?
First. Yep.
Tunisia was the first one.
And successful, I would point
out. Successful as well. That's a good point. But Syria felt like this as well, too. But what we also saw that Russia came and was able to really bolster the Assad government for a long time. But what we also know over the last 2 years, going on 3 years, I guess at this point, is that Russia's preoccupied, right? They are preoccupied with Ukraine. They need North Korean soldiers. And Iran has, I mean, whether it's what's happening specifically in between Israel, right, and like with the issues and like, again, the massacres that have happened in Gaza, which we really don't even necessarily, like, that feels to have fallen, like, are all the people dead in Gaza? Is that the point we don't need to talk about this point? Because it's kind of crazy. Like, that is not like Lebanon. It felt like,
and there's nominally a ceasefire in Lebanon that is not a ceasefire.
People are still shooting. So I don't know. Like, what's the end game here with this state that is, again, backed by the United States of America, that is violating all of the laws that this country is kind of really put in place when it comes to utilizing like the weapons that we provide to other countries? Like, it's I don't know what we do with this.
Okay, so like Bibi is out here claiming that he personally reshaped the Middle East, right? And to some extent, he did, right? By indiscriminate bombing in Gaza and Lebanon, he created.
Is that a winning position at home?
It's not a winning position. No, it's not a winning position.
It's so weird.
At home.
Yeah, it's very weird.
But what he did do is he destabilized the situation so badly. He got Hezbollah looking the other way and was able to kill a bunch of their leadership. He got Hamas, he killed everybody in Hamas and all of their next ones up and the next one's up and the next one's up. He's got the Iranians reeling because they don't have the proxies that were the deterrent threat. Their attacks on Israel were impotent at best. You know, they look pretty weak. And the Russians, as you mentioned, are totally preoccupied in Ukraine and desperate for manpower at this point. So, you know, the balance is really shifted. And whether the United States is willing to admit this or not, but we were at a détente and a balanced situation between the United States, Iran, and Russia to some extent, because we were all worried about this conflagration. The thing that we were all concerned about is, does the war in Gaza spill into a greater regional conflict? It has now spilled into 3 other countries.
We're here, yeah.
How long does it take till some faction in the Sinai does something that they don't like and the Israelis threaten Egypt, a country they have a peace treaty with, or something could happen in Jordan, yet another country they have a peace
Is
treaty with.
Egypt the one though that similar in the past forces the United States to be like, yo, we haven't seen it yet, but is Egypt the one? Like, I don't know. Like, and I'm just going based off of history. Like, is that the one?
Egypt mattered more when the Suez mattered more.
Fair. That's a
and
good point.
So they've got a strategic ability to sort of command the world's attention because they can shut down the Suez Canal, and that can, as we saw what happened when a ship got stuck in it, it can really fuck some shit up. And the Saudis have a lot of leverage because they can turn off the oil. But the reality is that the Americans, and we're now at a point where we don't really need the Saudi oil as badly as we
don't
used to. We're producing so much at home. It's true that Saudi oil is a little better for our refineries and things like that, but it just like the overall leverage to get the U.S. to actually rein in Israel, apart from just pay it lip service, is basically non-existent at this point. And I don't think
it will be for the next 4 years.
Yeah, and it's going to get worse. Yeah, because I don't think the Trump people have any indication that they would want this to stop. To them, this is good.
But does Donald Trump, because we do know Donald Trump doesn't really like war. He's like, it is against, and I know you might not agree with this, but I do think he thinks of that as an unnecessary expense, as us going out there and, again, financing other countries where that's what he sells to everybody else.
I think he could definitely go out there and say that they got to pay for what they're doing and they need to pay for our weapons, which the Israelis would gladly do. I don't think that's going to be the thing. I do think that Trump really likes making a deal.
Yeah,
he likes doing something that other people have not been able to do. So if you take a conflict like this that has a lot of nuance and a lot of detail and why it's so hard to solve because it's so detailed, and you get somebody who does not give a fuck about any details and is willing to threaten people into behaving their damn selves, he could be the one to make a deal at the point of a gun. He could say, like, you idiots better calm down or I'll nuke you both. You know, he could do that. And when he says he could end it in 24 hours, that's the implication, obviously, right? Is that he's going to say, y'all calm down or I'm going to nuke you. Like, I don't know what else it could possibly be. I don't see them turning off the weapons to it, especially not after appointing Huckabee over there and all these evangelicals who desperately want this sort of Armageddon situation to happen. It's never going to stop. And the only way it ever would stop is if everybody had a financial reason to knock it off. Right now, I don't think Holy Land is getting off the ground.
Not getting off the ground.
These guys don't want that, and I don't think anybody wants to go visit. You know, come see the construction site that is Holy Land for the next 150 years.
I mean, but we know, and maybe this day after thing, we don't even talk about for the next 8 years, 10 years, like a decade of like, what does the destruction that's been wrought and again, the annihilation of 50, 60,000 people probably at this point, if not more, right? Like it almost feels like that conversation is it's Lebanon. And again, this ceasefire. And it's Syria, and where this has started from, similar to how I thought about like with Afghanistan, and we just, again, our attention moves away. I think our attention has moved away from, like, again, a lot of dead Palestinians, and that doesn't see, like, even just in the media itself, and like, I don't feel like I hear the story specifically about Gaza as I do about Lebanon, as I hear about Syria, obviously going forward.
It's kind of hard to keep crunching something that is
already
right. It doesn't make any more sound, and that's what's going on in Gaza. I just looked it up here. The distance from Aleppo, which was the first city that the HTS was able to fully take, to Damascus is about as far as it is from New York to Washington, D.C. So you imagine a 200 and change mile schlep with an entire army to take over several cities along the way. Hama, Homs, all had to fall.
Yeah.
You know, meeting with some resistance, I guess, at least. That in the space of 10 days is crazy. It's crazy. And through the desert, and not, you know, there's a paved road, but it was heavily fortified, mined, and all fucked up and everything like that. They zipped down there, man.
Yeah, I think this next administration has a lot of things that it needs. it's going to have to deal with. Like, and I know, like, because I think what they always forget is once you get into government, again, the government kind of moves in a certain way. And while the first term he was able to, again, cause it to move off kilter a little bit, there are going to be things that need to be addressed. And I know there's this isolationism that their whole like strategy is around this, but like there's a lot going on right now. And to be honest, like I could still take some of this back to like the movings of the embassies to Jerusalem. Like I think there's things that we could look back on that we don't ever talk like, but there are things that happened in the first administration and his approach to these Abraham Accords and like what those actually did. And it's just there has to be some type of game plan. He says he's gonna. I'm very interested to see where this goes.
Not only do I not think there's a game plan, I don't think he cares, and name one person in the incoming Trump administration that's compelled to do anything about the situation.
There's not one.
There's nothing there that they want. They don't care about it. There's no money. There's no oil. There's no nothing. There's just people, and they don't care about people. So, no, they'll just let this thing burn. I mean, honestly, if you ask anybody in the Trump administration, what's the situation, or the incoming administration, what's the situation like in, I don't know, Libya? Do they know there's two governments in Libya right now, and that they're at some sort of weird détente where one sells the oil and the other one pays them for not killing them? They don't know that. They don't care about that. Guess what's going on in Sudan? If you think the situation here in Syria is pretty fucked up, that ain't even close. And there's more people displaced in the Sudan conflict than in all of the rest of these conflicts combined. And nobody is talking about that. You think this incoming administration gives a fuck what's going on in a shithole country full of black and brown people? There's nothing there. They don't want it. They don't care. It's never going to get addressed. So yeah, while you're right that when people are in government, you know, the rest of us have expectations of them and that they have a responsibility to respond to certain things as the government, so to speak. These guys aren't going to do that.
Some of these things can destabilize what are happening here, though. Some of these things. I think specifically with, let's just say Russia, like doesn't feel like what's happening in Syria. All right, we now are going to figure out to pivot towards that. And now that becomes like, it's allowing, if America does nothing, what it does allow is it allows players, specifically China, to step into that void. And that's where that, and I think that is something that the incoming administration does think about, right? I think that individual has a feeling around China and what that looks like, and like them being the superpower that is able to step in America's void. And I'm not saying that's going to solve anything, or if us being involved in some of these things with this current administration doesn't make it worse. But these things aren't moving against like immovable objects, right? When they hit something, when one thing bumps in the world, other things bump. Like that happens. That is the global world that we.
Yeah, but I don't think they care, and I don't think they're really aware of it.
But something will happen, and just because we don't know what that is, there are going to be ramifications of this that again,
so then they'll react. Then they'll react to that particular ramification as if it's an isolated incident, and they'll handle it as such, and they'll react to it probably in a profoundly stupid way. Mm-hmm. You know, the idea that we're in competition for sphere of influence with China in a sort of old school Ike Republican Cold Warrior way, that's gone, and I don't think they care about that. Trump is willing to make a deal with China. He makes all his fucking ties over there and God knows what else. He doesn't, you know, he's not like ideologically opposed to China. I don't think he knows I can't even tell you what the ideology of China is at this point, apart from make as much money as they can and be an autocratic state. There's not, you know, there isn't a conflict of ideas here. There isn't.
I think there is a conflict. I think China's ideology is, you guys see what a democracy has brought you all?
Yeah.
You see this? What happens when you don't have control over what's going on? And we're doing a great job of making it look like Like, and I know that's not the case.
But I think that that's the same as the Trump people. They think that too. They go, democracy is bad and messy, and this is why you should put a strong man in charge. So vote for me. I'll only be a dictator for the first 10 minutes. I mean, it's like, it's the same kind of thing. They're not actually communists. They're not sharing all this wealth. They're not like, they're running as market as it can possibly be over there. So like, there's not some sort of like ideological difference here, in my opinion. I don't see that there, and I don't think there's anybody in the incoming administration gives a shit what countries China's dominating versus America. Biden went to Angola. That was a big deal, right? Why did Biden go to Angola? Because of this neo-colonial bullshit where we're going to build a railroad to get the metal out onto the Atlantic side rather than onto the Indian Ocean side.
That's exactly what it is.
That's exactly what it is, right? China's been doing that for ages. They've been going into all these places in Africa and South America, Central America. They've been building them infrastructure in exchange for the ability to rape and pillage and take all their shit. The Americans are late to the game. That's what that is. The Trump people are just going to participate in more of that. They don't care about the people. They don't care about the countries. They don't care about the stabilization of any of that. They're just going to run a colony of mineral extraction and whatever else extraction until they're done with it, and they don't care anymore. Leave a smoking hulk behind them like they did in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. It's all the same shit. Speaking of smoking hulks,
Christ.
South Korea. Good Lord. Okay, so
what?
Syria is not a country anymore. South Korea almost became not a country, and then they snapped back and were like, no.
With our army sitting over there,
with our army, 30,000 Americans sitting right there guarding them. Yeah, they were like, okay, so they had this kind of self-coup, right? The president called martial law. It lasted for about 6 hours.
He's got the martial law face.
That is the martial law with the hand. He has a tiny hand. What is up with these guys and their tiny hands?
Me too.
It's a little tiny hand. Are you thinking of becoming a dictator or something?
I got the dictator hands.
You got the little tiny. Look at the relative size.
Yeah, no, I have very small hands.
Oh my God.
Huge feet, small hands.
Okay.
Very clownish behavior going on over here. Like size 13 shoe, size medium glove.
Oh my God. Clown feet and clownish hands.
It's so dumb. My father was only 5'4".
Okay, well, back in the real world, the South Koreans had this problem, right? So the president called martial law.
What do you mean there's a problem? That's what the nations do nowadays, right?
Right. It seems to be a trend. So the parliament voted it down. The people hit the streets. They basically said absolutely not gonna happen. Then they had this vote to impeach the president.
Yes.
And it did not work out, right? They could not get the impeachment to go through. So he is not impeached. He's still president, but he's like, look, I'm gonna not run things right now. I don't know what's going to happen, but the way their constitution works is if he does get impeached or leaves office, the prime minister takes on the executive role briefly until they can set up to have another election, which seems like a reasonable way of doing things. The prime minister is a member of his party, but he had resigned. So, and all of the ministers in government,
even they were like, "Hey, whoa, bro, we this party, but we don't do this type of shit."
It was a unanimous vote in Parliament to undo the martial law thing. So
there's not one person that was
not one.
Usually, before I'm gonna throw my coup, I go whip up, for lack of a better word, whip the votes. And yo, hey, if I throw a coup,
you can't even get Ted Cruz to go along with you, man. That's bad.
It's bad.
And that spineless sack of shit will do anything. So he was like, all right, I'm going to leave the party in charge to figure out what to do. I'm just going to take a step back. And meanwhile, he's on a travel ban. The whole world is
they said, no, he can't leave.
You can't leave the country. You can't come here. Nobody wants him here. And the rest of South Korea is not going to let him out. So, Godspeed, President Yoon, but I don't think it's going to end well for you. Those tiny hands, man. Tiny hands. All right, speaking of tiny hands, Tez, what's going on in your Tez talk?
No, I think the Tez talk can just go straight into this United Healthcare show.
Okay.
Because, I don't know, I've been trying to read up on this, and it's very the story, and this sounds crazy, right? to me, the story really isn't. People get shot in cold blood every day in America. I think that happens, right? And I don't even, and granted, this person, like, they keep saying assassination. I thought we left that for like president. Like, I thought you had to be a certain level of like person for assassination to be like, I don't know.
Targeted killing, I think.
Targeted killing, cool, is fine, but assassination, I think, is that we should have levels for this. Like,
okay,
I think there should be levels for these type of homicides that are happening. I don't know if it's assassination, but I think the response to this obviously is what's the most interesting thing, and you have legacy media that, for the most part, I think has been like straight down the line, like almost admonishing the internet in the sense of their response being like, hey, you're running this healthcare system the way it is. Eventually someone's gonna fucking break. And like, and I think I was reading someone's Medium article earlier this evening, and it was just around like they were criticizing the like established media for their response, and almost again like failing to highlight like how people could get here. I mean, from what I've read, I don't think most of the things I've read, I feel like the authors of the article have done a decent job of explaining like, hey, their healthcare in America is broken, which we already know, but it's like, if I was to give my own opinion on this, right, it's clear as day, like, you shouldn't really be going out here murdering motherfucking people. Right. Now, if that's clear as day. But I think I would be kidding myself if I couldn't tie together a violent nation by jet, right? This is just this is a nation built on violence, and every time violence happens, we're always like, oh my god, people are violent, and I'm like, well, hold on. It's like, and it's like, wait, hold on. This has just always been what it is from the incarnation of this whole thing. Like that, it's built on violence. And like, I think when some of this stuff can get weaved into like the blood of a nation, as some people would say, right? And you combine that with, I think I do look at COVID as something, right, where we might have become desensitized to death. That plays into this as well. And then just the biggest thing is that, yeah, people are hurting out here. And I think I forgot the specific stats around this, but to tie it together, it was that most people don't really interact with the healthcare system. And the more you have to interact with the healthcare system, the more you realize how trash it is, whether you have an abundance of wealth or you don't. And I think as we look at right, Luigi and right, his alleged, like what he's been allegedly accused of here, like this person, as I have understood it, has been under chronic pain, and maybe he got to a point where he realized, hey, I come from affluence, but yet I am still not here.
Yeah.
So then what becomes, and but I do think as a society, right, it's a slippery slope once you kind of go down this, like, all right, like when we start, like, what are we? We're 2 hours away from the Joker showing up, right? Like,
we're a little, yeah, it does feel so. Like, I take your point that the mainstream media is basically covering this as a straight ahead murder story.
Yeah, and
here's the fact: guy got shot. Here's the police report. Here's what they say. They match the fingerprints. Here's what they say that it matched the gun. We are a violent country. We are in a place where the availability of firearms is way too easy. This was a 3D printed gun, a fucking ghost gun of I can't wait for Alito to find out about that. We're in a place where the lopsided control of power and wealth is so concentrated in a way that seems utterly hopeless for everybody who isn't a billionaire. We are in a place where the overall trust in institutions is zero. Nobody thinks that the institutions work. They don't think they get a fair shake in the courts. They don't think they get a fair shake in government. They don't think they get a fair shake in business. They think that everything is fixed. And people believe that so universally that somebody like Trump can come along and say, hey, this was, the election I didn't win is fixed, and the one that I won isn't. And they all kind of go along with that. There's this sort of pervasive attitude. I know people who work in health insurance. I know how the denial of coverage or denial of care works and how complicated it is, and it shouldn't exist. I don't know one of them who thinks that this is a good thing. They all say that there shouldn't ever be a denial of treatment for anything because medicine shouldn't be a for-profit enterprise. But we are in this weird place where a guy like Luigi Mangione attacks a guy who is the head of a health insurance company, and people are doing things like posting pictures of him at their business. They're putting their own business. I've seen several. My local comic book shop posted a photo of him at the comic book shop. It's not real, saying that he was there on that day from that time to that time. And, they thank him for being such a loyal customer. If you think you can put your business out there, like defending this guy, like he's some sort of modern day Robin Hood, that says a lot about who you think your customers are, who you think the public is, and where they fall on this. We discussed it when this first broke, that like if this is a John Q sort of situation, no jury in the world is going to convict him. There are a lot of people who are looking at this as like it's a fuck around, find out kind of moment, right? Health insurance has fucked around and fucked so many people, and now they're finding out. And I think that there's a not small number of people who want to extend that overall in general to corporate America and the elites as they see them. I do worry that this is how we get to people eating Mitch McConnell, and I don't advise that because I think it would not taste good. But I also don't think that
it's like eating bear.
Yeah, don't do that either. Or drink raw milk. Don't do that either. I just don't. I don't want to live in a country where
it's McConnell.
I'm ready.
I don't want to live in a country where we have to settle things this way like it's the Wild West. But I do see how we are getting there. And I think that an incoming administration that is willing to use violence, that is willing to imprison people who disagree with them, who are willing to call reporters the enemy of the people, the enemy of the state, simply for reporting the truth, it makes it a lot harder for people to see a path that isn't violence, right? Because let's say you've got evidence of some company perpetrating something awful against their customers or against people dead to right, and you can't get it out into the press. And even if you could, you don't think that the government's going to come and actually handle the situation properly. You just say, maybe fuck it. Maybe I ought to just wait for this guy and shoot him outside his hotel. That kind of thing could happen. And I think it could happen several more times. And it's very telling that the corporate America's solution to this, their immediate reaction to this, was not to go out there and try to make a case for, hey, we like to serve our customers. We might have made some mistakes in certain cases, but we want to get it right. Please come and talk to us. What they did was scrubbed their websites of any information that would identify the bad guys who made those decisions. Started talking about security, started trying to wall themselves off from the hoi polloi, who are dangerous, unclean peasants. It's like, how are you not getting this, guys? The dude got shot because he runs a for-profit health insurance company whose job it is to make money off of sick people. And you didn't turn around and go, you know what? We here at Omnicorp love our customers. We want to do the best we can to serve them and give them everything that they need, everything they pay for,
and you can obviously, and the thing is, around
you can lie and say that.
You can lie.
They did it after George Floyd. They all went out and said it. Right? Oh, we understand that America has not always been up to it. We here at Burger King are doing our best. It's like but they didn't do that. They scrubbed their websites of the faces of their board members. They took down all of their LinkedIns and all of this kind of stuff. This is not the reaction of somebody who thinks that they can get on the right side of history. This is somebody who's afraid that they are on the wrong side of history, and history has printed guns.
Is this a weird sense of class solidarity? Am I missing this? Is I'm not saying it's a good way, but is this what it's displaying? Like,
A
I don't
little
know.
bit, but I'd be very careful about what that really means, because it's very quick to go, hey, that guy talks too well. That guy's got too many big words. He's one of them. And it, the class aspect of it, I don't know. Those things exist in the moment, but they fade very quickly. If you think about the way that like intellectuals drove the Russian Revolution, it was intellectuals who were the leading edge of uh, communism all throughout Europe, everywhere it was. And then once those people got in power, they immediately turned on the universities and the press and all of that stuff, and wanted to stop that from being that. So I don't know how long that kind of thing lasts. Some animals are more equal than others, as they say.
Yeah, I wonder as well too with this, and I know there's no sympathy going this way, but like for Brian Thompson, right? Like I assume like he has a family and things of that nature, and I wonder like in those quiet moments as well too, where they look at it and they're like, I'm assuming that family, like based on his job and what he did and things of that nature, that they were more well off than the average American, right?
Of course they are.
Of course they were, right? And I wonder, do they sit back now? People have lost husbands, lost a father, and they say, "Yo, is the money worth it?" And like, it's kind of on those weird two things, right? Where it's like a subset of the population is like, we not only can afford like procedures in healthcare to keep us alive, but the actual like apparatus and mechanism that is there to supposedly help us, insurance, is playing defense against our health. And like at a certain point, which I think I saw this written in this Medium article, is that when do we look at the way we treat healthcare as murder, right? And like, I don't know if I mean, maybe people would accuse me of giving this like false equivalence, but like, if someone is dying unnecessarily due to our healthcare system, and not that we aren't able to help them, but that we chose not to help them, like where, like, again, because I think in societies where people are taken care of, it's usually you don't see people running out in the street and murdering CEOs because they're like, yo, I'm doing okay. And I think that, like, if you create that type of society, there will still be things that happen. But I think that you like, and also too, these inequities are just so much like, if we're thinking 200 years ago, like there's huge inequities then as well too. But you might not see the motherfucker who has a castle somewhere.
Yeah,
but now you go on fucking.
He's not on the internet showing you what he's doing all the time. It's rubbing it in his. Part of the problem is we don't have an analog for this, because there's nowhere else in the world where for-profit medicine exists like
exactly
this. So we don't really know what it's like to see in other places where we could go, oh, well, this is what happened when those people died unnecessarily because somebody made a financial decision. We don't know how to look at that. And I don't think you're being hyperbolic when you talk about that. I think it's reasonable to say that denial of life-saving care is tantamount to murder if you could have done it and chose not to do it because of some stupid rule.
Right.
Again, I really don't want to be in a place where people are eating Mitch McConnell, but I do see how things like the French Revolution happen. I do see how these kinds of things can happen, and this might be a one-off. And to your point of like, could there be some class traders amongst a billionaire class who's like, yo, this is too much, I got to get out of this? Yeah, there are going to be some. Like, there's the Disney scion. She basically is like, I can't be this. My last name is Disney. I don't want to be a part of this. She divested. She gave all her money away. She's like railing against the system. That might be because she wants to get on the right side of history and be safe. I don't know.
You don't know.
And I think it's very clear how many like, let's call them regular people are willing to be class traders because they're voting for tax cuts for billionaires all the time. So I don't know whether they are really in this solidarity thing that you're seeing right now, because they might not really even be able to connect the dots. There are a lot of people who voted for Trump who might say, yeah, this CEO deserved to die because healthcare is a right and we should all have it. And I can't wait to destroy Obamacare. or I can't wait to get rid of universal healthcare. Like those people exist, and that's a lot of them.
I
Because
wonder
they're
as
not
well.
they're not putting those dots together.
Well, to that point as well, too, I wonder sometimes if people are just really interested in being part of the story, right? Of like, and like, is this one of those inflection points where like we're on the cusp of some like crazy class revolution? I don't necessarily think that, because I don't think this country is built for that. In the next like popular reality TV show that comes on, everybody's fucking attention will be diverted, and then
Tiger
we'll
King
go back.
2 will
Yeah,
come out.
whatever.
We'll
Yeah,
fine.
pick up whatever you want. I honestly believe that, but at the same time, it does feel like a lot of people in this country want to be part of something bigger, like. And I don't say this flippant, but like being part of the Civil War, or like these big, like, to, because it's almost as in day-to-day life, maybe people are lacking meaning or lacking community or whatever it might be, and trying to be part of something bigger, even if that can be very destructive, seems to be where a lot of people are at. And we also at this memification of what our lives are, and the internet is now blending into real life, which will only continue. Yeah, and like I just don't like, people are desensitized to things, and like if people are sitting like, if random people also are online laughing about this, that's the beauty of this place. People are allowed to do that. And however
They're
I
allowed
feel about
to do
that,
it.
I also think, though, that's an interesting piece around mainstream media, because if mainstream media was able to carry on like that, you almost could then accuse them of what the First Amendment does not protect. And that is like inciting violence. So it's tricky.
I mean, to your point about the internet and everybody wanting to be part of something, I mean, one of the things that the internet has done is made things so super accessible.
Right.
And it's, or at least seemingly accessible. So much so that like people like us go, oh yeah, maybe we could buy InfoWars.
Right.
You know, and it doesn't seem as crazy
No.
as it did, 20 years ago. But now it does seem like that's a reasonable thing. I mean, we're going to talk about that, but that
start a GoFundMe.
There's
mechanisms to do this.
Yeah, and regular people get famous at an ungodly clip these days, and it's Hawk to a girl meme coins. Like, what the fuck are we talking about here?
It's clout. It's clout.
Yes, yeah. Shout out to Drew Kidd.
Yeah, clout.
The Clout City Bird Gang. I think that this is, I don't know. I worry that this is going to happen more. I worry that the reaction to it is going to continue to be this sort of like point and laugh rather than make any adjustments. I worry that the incoming administration is ill-equipped to try to put a lid on this and try to meet the moment and understand why this is happening, why people would be upset about any of this stuff. I just don't, they don't take any of this seriously. They don't really understand any of it. They don't care.
It's very serious.
It is very serious because it's going to happen again. And if it happens 2 to 3 more times, like, we've got a very serious problem on our hands. And you can't have a country that is built on giant corporate conglomerates on which we all totally depend, whether it's for our day-to-day grocery delivery or whether it's like, the credit card transactions operating. Watch somebody get mad about an overdraft fee and go kill the CEO of a bank. Watch somebody get mad about.
Watch out, Jamie Dimon. Like, yeah. and here, and also too, though, but that's an interesting thing that you say there, right? Because this could have happened to a different beloved CEO, and I know many people might, but like a CEO that people care about.
Mark Cuban. If it had happened to Mark Cuban, people would have been sad.
Yeah, and it's like that's
Warren Buffett.
Exactly. That's interesting in and of itself, right? Because it's like,
well, because those guys make sure that they have a good image.
Yeah. But even that's just the image, though. We could look into what the Cavs have done, and we could look through Mark Cuban and be like, all right, well, you obviously, with this specific business, you could have looked a little more into, like, because like there's no way you get to this type of wealth without crushing a few people. Like, that's just kind of how this works here. And the image is one thing. And I just think, right, the image of healthcare in this country is abysmal. And you murder a CEO of one of the big 3, I guess, healthcare providers here, and you get this type of response. And like, but also too, like, people here for these jokes, and I ain't saying joke. And like the fact that we've gotten that comfortable with joking around with human life might be surprising if we haven't always been joking around with human life.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of people are saying. These healthcare providers
People
have been joking around with human life. So, haha, look what happened to you now. And I'm not saying that's right, but I think I'd be an idiot to not try to understand where that response is coming from. The same way I feel like I'm an idiot not to understand where the response is of the reason that there'll be another Trump administration in less than 50 days. So
I think that, you know, this does represent a clarion call against the for-profit health insurance or health industry in general. I think that, you know, the reason that the Affordable Care Act is 1,200 pages long is because of how complex this whole system is. And when you start tugging at any little thread to try to figure it out, it just unravels the whole thing. You know, why is healthcare so expensive? Because insurance is expensive, because doctors' education is too expensive. Well, why don't we make their education free? Well, why don't we make the insurance cover everything? Why don't we not have insurance? Why don't we have just hospitals? You know, it's like it becomes very complicated. There's a lot of people who are making money just being in the middle of these things. There's a lot of jobs. It's 1/6 of the economy. It's a big thing. And it's not well understood by most of the people, let alone even a lot of the people who are in it and integrated within the healthcare system. It's just complex by design and complex by accident in some cases. And it's just led to this like disaster situation where somebody could do something like this. And when people go, hey, yeah, I kind of understand where he's coming from, nobody considers that a glib response. They go, yeah, maybe me too. You know, it doesn't register as heinous.
And there's 12 people going to convict him.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
So. I don't think so.
It doesn't register as depraved or just egregiously violent or anything like that. It kind of registers as a fairy tale, which is why you see the memification of this. And I do very much worry about that, because I think that people interacting with these kind of things and claiming somebody a Robin Hood or claiming somebody a hero when they themselves don't really understand the complexity of the situation can really lead to a lot of bad things. Speaking of bad things, Alex Jones. So Alex Jones, of course, our favorite person to make fun of on this show, he had to file for bankruptcy because he lied about the Sandy Hook kids. They sued him into oblivion. He owes $1 billion, more than $1 billion, about $1.5 billion. And so his whole shit was getting auctioned off, and we wanted to buy it, right? Yeah. We wanted specifically to buy Turbo Force because we need 5 different kinds of caffeine.
And a new studio.
Yeah, right. We need a new studio, and we want to, you know, the vitamins, the minerals, and the amino acids. We needed all of that.
The gay frogs.
We tried to buy the gay frogs, but we did not have enough money. But fortunately, our compatriots in fake news and fake radio, The Onion, did have enough money to buy it. But except maybe they didn't. So the deal here is that when something goes to auction, because of it's this bankruptcy thing, the creditors, the people who the money is owed to, are the ones who have to select who wins the bid. And it is based on the, what's the line here? The something and best. Most and best or something like that. Where's my information here? Come on. I should have been ready for this.
It's okay.
Yeah. But anyway,
the highest and best bid?
Highest and best bid. Right. There you go. So the Sandy Hook families basically said, we think The Onion owning InfoWars, making a parody of Alex Jones and running our ads from Everytown for gun safety nonstop is worth, and they put a dollar amount on it. And they said, plus they're willing to pay this much. So the overall bid is worth, say, $5 million, right?
Right.
And this other group, the First United American Companies. If there's ever been an acronym that doesn't mean anything. First United American Companies, FUAC.
FUAC.
Yeah, they wanted to buy it. And do you know who FUAC is?
Who's FUAC?
They're the ones who make Turbo Force. They make all the supplements that Alex Jones sells. So they wanted to buy it to, keep it being whatever it was. They bid $3.5 million, and the Onion's bid was only $1.75 million. And whatever the credit that the Sandy Hook families were going to give, a judge who was sort of overlooking this was like, "Hey, this doesn't pass the smell test," and he basically nixed the deal and said that they had to send it back, essentially to renew the bid. He did not. He specifically said that FUAC's bid doesn't win as a default because it's not as good, and that the rule does say that they need the highest and best. There's a lot of case law that supports trustees making a decision where they are taking some credit or an ownership stake or something in exchange for some of the money. So basically, this has to go back, and they have to kind of rerun it. I don't know that they're going to rerun the auction, but they're going to have to do something. It's not a done deal, which means we could. So if we could get one of our billionaire listeners who we just talked so highly about, give us enough money to outbid all of this, right? We will buy InfoWars, give it to the Onion to go do what they were going to do with it anyway, because we think that's a pretty good idea, as long as we get Turbo Force. We just want the Turbo Force.
And a show.
Well, yeah, a show on the Onion's network, of course. We'll do our show, but they don't have to, that was a given. They're already recruiting us, okay? So we'll just join in. But we want Turbo Force, and we want our show sponsored by Turbo Force because we need Turbo Force. How else are we going to stay up to do this show an hour and a half past when it's supposed to be over?
Oh, wow. It is. Oh, God.
Even when we're remote.
Sorry, Brian.
So that's it. That's the whole show. That's all we had. That's it. We wrote a short show tonight. Look how well we did.
11:42 is not bad.
It's not bad for us. We're pretty much on time.
But we're also at home.
We are. So, whatever.
Sorry, Brian.
Sorry, Brian. Brian doesn't live too far. He'll be fine.
Yeah.
Thanks, Brian. All right, so you hear that music, which means we've come to the end of the show. We want to say thank you to ADST for being so cool and coming out, hanging out with us on the show. Go get his records. They're amazing. Thanks to our radio partners, SNL, BLT, and HTS, not those Syrian guys, the home team sports guys. Thanks to NOTN for keeping us on for another week, maybe. Don't know. Haven't checked. Thanks to our home on the interwebs, coplaymedia.com, and thanks as always to our family here at Beltway Radio for making us sound as smooth as Chuck Mangione's horn. All right, where can everybody get you on the social medias there, Tez?
You can find me on Instagram at Ketchum Cordy, and you can find me, as always, being flaming liberal on Blue Sky at DC Cortez.
There you go. He left the other one off. That's a big step. It's not baseball, so that's why. All right, you can find me on
baseball catches up on Blue Sky in the next 4 months.
Former Nats great Juan Soto took all the money from the Nets, and they're still not going to win. That's going to be really
wild card exit.
I cannot wait to cover that. That's going to be on his Hall of Fame bus, the wild card exit machine. The only series he won was here. All right, so okay. You can find me and the show on the Twitter at ChipChatRR. You can find us on Facebook or Instagram at RipChipChat. And you can find me on Blue Sky, being a flaming liberal, at Chef Chip, my old handle from the Twitters that Elon stole from me for telling Ted Cruz I hope he has a good time with polio. All right. And you can find us, of course,
coming back soon.
Coming soon to a RFK near you. And you can find us every Thursday night for our last show in our home studio is going to be next week. We don't even have a guest for it. We're probably just going to walk around and look at the walls and cry or something. I don't know. It's our last show in the studio, though. You're going to enjoy it. And then you'll find us every Thursday night here on Beltway Radio and beyond. I'm Chip. That says that's been Brian. That was ADST. And that's a bunch of cool stuff. You've been listening to Chip Chat on Beltway Radio and beyond.
Sweeps.
Street ball.